Tonight on The Roast, fears of women rushing their births in order to get the baby bonus, preschools consider banning children who haven't been immunised, and Russia brings back snails from a scientific space mission. Welcome back, snails. What was it like up there? Ah, you don't remember. With news that the federal government will reduce the baby bonus from $5,000 to $500 in 9 months' time, there are now concerns that some women will attempt to induce births early in order to be eligible for that $5,000 payment. And if you think that sounds ridiculous, in 2004, some mothers held off giving birth until the day the baby bonus was introduced. According to Melbourne University economist Joshua Gans, that meant that those babies were significantly more likely to be overcooked. So in 9 months' time, when the baby bonus is scrapped, the fear is a boom in mothers giving birth to babies that are undercooked. And that's terrible, because the only thing worse than inducing a pregnancy for financial gain is raw baby.
Your baby, sir?
Oh, I asked for my baby to be well done. Honestly, every time. But look, I was born at just 7 months, and the truth is, I turned out just fine. So, guys, I'm trying to do a TV show. Look, with the baby bonus's imminent extinction, no one wants to have a baby one day after the scheme's abolished, because we all know that baby would be resented as a bitter disappointment. The $5,000 that could have been, the fancy stroller, or the weekend Phuket that you deserve because you're tired. Our reporter Clark Richards joins us live from the maternity ward. Clark, with the end of the baby bonus looming, it must be pandemonium down there.
Oh, yes.
You look terrible.
I'm exhausted, Tom. I've been working all night.
Not delivering babies.
Oh, no, Tom. I'm making babies. Ever since the end of the baby bonus was announced, everyone's been trying to get in before the final whistle. I'm in hot demand.
But surely there's more to consider than just the baby bonus when it comes to having a child.
Of course, Tom. All these mothers-to-be want is a smaller version of themselves. But imagine if they could have that, plus 5,000 big ones.
Well, with only 9 months and 1 week until the cut-off date, that's got to be creating quite a bit of pressure for those wannabe mums.
You think the mothers are under pressure? I'm under the pump. I've 1 week left to conceive as many children as I can. I've been getting 10% of that sweet baby bonus booty, so that's $500 for every Clark Jr. that pops out. Come next week, any child I father under the new baby bonus will only net me $50 and is therefore useless to me.
Useless to you? Clark, that's a horrible thing to say.
I gotta go, Tom. My 7:30 is here, and I gotta get the thought of you out of my mind.
Future father Clark Richards there. But what about those people with no immediate plans for a child? Well, Genevieve Fricker joins me here in the studio. Jen, you've repeatedly turned down my advances. Does it disappoint you to know you won't be getting the baby bonus anytime soon?
Well, not really, Tom. If anything, the fact they had to cut down the baby bonus shows it worked too well, and now we have too many people. The country's in deficit and the cost of living is rising. So we at Roast Life think you need to start planning for your future today.
What?
Roll the tape. Nobody wants to be a burden. But when you insist on living until an old age, you're not only a drain on your loved ones, but Australia as well. That's why we here at Roast Life are introducing the bump-off bonus.
I don't want to be too old to do anything except pick up my pension and yell at teenagers to get off my lawn. And thanks to Roast Life's bump-off bonus, I won't have to. I'll be doing the country a favour, and I get a sweet 5G to spend in 1 month. 1 month? I feel like I'm in a rap video or something.
By claiming the bump-off bonus, you get 1 whole month to spend $5,000 any way you want. Then you'll be respectfully and quietly disposed of in a carpet of your choosing.
The bump-off bonus. Don't you want $5,000?
Oh, I do. Although I'd probably just spend it on a plasma TV. Anyway, our second story tonight, and a Russian space capsule containing small animals has successfully returned to Earth after an adorable month in orbit. They did it, people. Just 52 years after sending man into space, Russia has finally sent up a newt. It's a cosmonewt. Now, the brave team of creatures, including gerbils, snails and mice, were sent into space to examine how their bodies would respond to weightlessness. And how did it go? Well, according to ABC News, Russia retrieves mice, newts after space journey, while the Global Post went with mice returned from space, most of them dead. Tomato, tomato. You see, most of the 45 mice sent into orbit, along with gerbils and 15 newts, died on the mission, one that's been widely praised by Russian state media as a unique experiment that no other country has yet pulled off. Yeah, you, NASA. When are you going to grow a spine and kill some rodents in space? Now, according to the Russian scientists, the animals on board the Bion-M craft died because of equipment failure or from the stresses of space, specifically the stress of being a gerbil and trying to pee into one of those space pee bags. And even though the majority of the animals did die during the mission, scientists hope the operation will pave the way for a manned flight to Mars. So if you've ever dreamed of going into space, dying, and then having the Ruskies say, hey, we totally planned it, then you should join the Russian space program. But for now, how has this experiment been received by animal rights activists? Well, for more, we'll cross to our very own animal lover, Jazz Twemlow. Jazz.
Tom, this is a disgrace and needs to be stopped. Sending mice and snails into space? What use are those animals going to be when we colonise Mars? They're pests, Tom. Even if there were any plant life to sustain them up there, we'd still want them to die anyway. There's no point testing space travel on animals we tried to kill here just to make sure they'll survive a trip to another planet so we can kill them there.
Yeah, but Jazz, these experiments help us understand the effects of long-term space exposure on organic matter.
Well, then send up things we'll actually want to have on Mars. Some delicious organic matter. Send up some Wagyu cow and short ribs. This animal testing was cruel because it was pointless. The kindest thing we can do right now is test the merciless vacuum of space on succulent, fleshy animals that will eventually be slaughtered and devoured. Keep the annoying, inedible pests for useful things like testing lipstick and dangerous medicines.
Finally tonight, the National Health Performance Authority, or NHPA, recently found that 77,000 Australian children are not fully immunised, which has prompted New South Wales Labor to propose something pretty radical.
Preschools and childcare centres across the state could ban unvaccinated children under a controversial plan being proposed by the Labor opposition.
Put simply, the bill would allow preschools to choose whether or not to accept children who haven't been immunised, with those schools in favour adopting the unusual new message of kids do drugs. But the concerns go beyond immunisation.
The government's considering the proposal, but opponents of the vaccination warn it amounts to discrimination.
Discrimination. By banning non-immunised kids from certain schools, the fear is it could lead to a new type of segregation. And for more on this, we'll cross to Roast correspondent and substitute teacher, Rachel Corbett. Rachel, how do the teachers feel about this?
Tom, teachers are delighted by the proposal, mostly.
Mostly. Okay, so who's against it?
Me and all the other teachers who've been assigned non-vaccination schools. Tom, I'm going to be surrounded by tiny little ticking time bombs of whooping cough and mumps. We're all being given these impenetrable rubber suits.
Okay, those things are pretty intimidating. Won't wearing that scare the kid?
Not as much as this.
What the hell's that?
It's my spanking glove. When those non-immunised kids misbehaved, I'll be damned if I'm going to smack them without some sort of protection.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to smack kids at all, Rach.
Oh, all right then. I'll use it as my high five glove for when they do something good. Hey Jackson, nice work on that spelling thing.
So Rach, if you had your choice, you'd be teaching in an immunisation school.
Tom, if I had my choice, I'd live in an immunisation city. But I don't get a choice because I'm the substitute teacher and nobody listens to the substitute teacher.
Okay, thank you there, Rachel. So the proposed law is sparking a new angle on the already fierce debate over the science of immunisation. And a new national survey of Australia's attitudes to vaccination found that more than 50% of parents are worried about the safety of childhood vaccines. For more, we'll cross now to our reporter Nick Richardson. Nick, why do you think there's been this increase in scepticism about vaccination?
Tom, it's because vaccine pioneers have been doing their job too well. We're so close to eradicating polio. There have only been 41 reported cases this year in a planet of 7 billion people. Polio pretty much doesn't exist except for in labs.
Yeah, and that's great.
Yes, but it means in the West, no one knows what polio is like, how horrible that disease is. I mean, ask your grandparents how bad it was to have permanently paralysed kids and how much of a revolution that polio vaccine was. No one avoided the vaccine back then when the fear was still fresh, which has led me to a thought. It's a bad one, and I don't want to say it.
Okay.
Okay, so you know how vaccinations work?
Yeah, you turn away and the doctor hurts you.
Yeah, sort of. Basically, but by being injected with a little bit of the disease, you're immunised against it.
Okay.
So I think we need to vaccinate Australia against anti-vaccination.
Okay.
So, like, I think if I just give Australia, like, a little bit of polio, like just a smidge, like one preschool,
Okay.
then, like, maybe one of those preschools where the kids aren't immunised,
Yeah, okay.
then maybe all of Australia might remember why we immunise against things like polio. Because it's kind of worse than autism.
Okay.
And the link between autism and vaccinations has been discredited.
Okay.
But you can definitely still get polio.
Okay.
Am I a bad person?
It's a complicated issue. Good night.